Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you a look at an inexpensive add-on for one of your new Sony Mirrorless bodies that can actually make a huge amount of difference. And I'm today specifically going to be looking at the L-Brackets from the company SmallRig. They also make full cages and other accessories, but today, as far as my review goes, I'm going to be looking at an L-Bracket for both my Sony a7R Mark III, as I've got here, and then also the one on the Sony a6500 that I'm filming on right now. So this all started because of the complaints that maybe you've heard me make before about the fact that any of these Sony mirrorless bodies that I've used, my pinky finger gets orphaned in that there's not enough room on the grip for my whole hand to grip it naturally as I would a DSLR. And so I've been looking for a long time for something to add on to that. And of course, you know, Sony does make a grip extension or a battery grip, but both of those options are more pricey. And it was actually through one of my contacts at Sigma Canada when he was the first one to mention SmallRig to me. And so anyway, when SmallRig actually contacted me, I was already intrigued by their products and agreed to take a look at them. And so today I'm here to give you a closer look, and we're going to jump in and look close, hands-on at all that is a part of these L-Brackets for these Sony mirrorless bodies. So when I ordered the SmallRig for the a7R III, I really was primarily looking at solving one problem, and that was to extend that grip a little bit more, and so that my pinky finger actually had something to hold on to, which would allow me to have a better grip on the a7R Mark III. And so I was very happy to find that there was a number of other things that were pleasant surprises to me. First of all, if you'll note along here and on either side of the L bracket here, you'll find that this is actually Arca Swiss compatible, which to me that's huge right there, because it allows me to take this and to go right onto a tripod and to crank down. And I found this to be a very, very secure mounting point on a tripod. It actually works particularly well. And then of course to have that similar ability if you're in a portrait orientation is really quite fantastic. And so a really clever bit of design work there that I'm very happy about. You can see, of course, that these are very premium metals that are used here. Now, as far as the grip extension down here, in some ways, you know, while it's certainly functional and I like it fine, in some ways it's actually the least advantage here, in that one thing I would like to see is that this is obviously very smooth metal materials. It doesn't at all feel like a grip though, per se. And I would actually prefer to see some kind of texturized surface there where you're going to hang on to it. And I recognize that it may not be as aesthetically pleasing, but at the same time, it would feel a little bit more like it was a cohesive extension of the grip as opposed to smooth metal there. But like I said, the advantage of the kind of the whole has added to the value for me. One thing you're going to find, because everything is sturdy metals here, is you have that additional kind of protection value for the camera. And so, you know, for example, God forbid, should it drop, obviously you're going to first impact some pretty hard metal surfaces, you know, should you happen to hit on any one of those axes, than hitting on the camera itself. And so that's going to help to kind of absorb some of that shock there. Now, another thing that you probably have noticed, since it's pretty front and center there, is that one of the services that SmallRig provides for you is that they will actually etch in your name or, you know, business name. There's a limited number of characters. I had actually wanted to put my website, dustinabbott.net, and there wasn't quite room for that, but it's cool having my name on there, just, you know, a way to set it apart and personalizing that. Now you'll note that there are a number of areas where you could hook on, you know, a strap, for example, and you'll see here that I've used a couple of these different areas to test as anchor points. I use Peak Design straps and things like that, and so that's a cool thing to have different places to anchor on to. Obviously, here you can also, you know, if you did need to mount on the top of something with the, you know, the standard kind of 1/4-inch screw, you can go into that. If you actually wanted to add a quick release plate or whatever, you're obviously ready to do that. Now, as far as this one goes, it's, obviously it makes your battery compartment more recessed. It's very easy to access, no concerns there. We'll look at the one for the A6500 in just a moment. Now, I was really pleased to discover, I didn't even notice it initially. It was actually while using this in the field that I realized, looking under here, that there is actually a magnetic area that will hold the Allen key here, which is really cool, because while this isn't a toolless design, it means that it's easy to use the Allen key to loosen or release things if you're so inclined, and it gives you some tools to accomplish that right there, and it's nice and secure. It stays in there no problem. So that was also just an extra clever design element that I really liked. Now, looking over at the side bracket here, a few things that I want to point out. I mean, obviously, you've got a number of different anchor points for adding on accessories here. And so, I mean, basically, wherever they can add those things, they've done so. You've got a little bit of a cutout here to give you space for mounting a strap there, and in my case, adding an anchor point. And of course, that can be sucked in a little bit tighter. Now, as far as that loosening and tightening, I'm just going to show you here quickly that you've got options. Now, initially, I had it put in all the way like this. I mean, obviously, it takes up the least amount of room. One minor problem is that while this door, with that completely closed, is accessible, these other ones were just a little bit harder to get at. You had to have to raise it there and then, try to get at it underneath. I just found it a little bit too tight to negotiate. It's not to say that you couldn't do it, but you couldn't do it conveniently. So what I did is I extended that out just a little bit like that to give me some extra room. Now, obviously, you have you can extend as far out as this. And so if you were wanting to mount an accessory away from the camera body, you certainly have the option of doing that. And so again, it's about flexibility when it comes to that. Now, another area, of course, obviously, is that you could elect to remove this side plate if you didn't want to use it and just use the kind of grip extension bottom plate there. And so you've got the option of doing that if that's all that you're looking for. But certainly having the L bracket there included is nice if you want to accessorize. And of course, if you wanted to go to a tripod in portrait mode, you've got the option of doing that as well. And so one final thing to point out, you've also got some anchor points here at the front. And so you can either add accessories on there. Again, it's more versatility. So as far as how it all feels in the hand, I mean, if you're accustomed to a DSLR, my primary other DSLR is a Canon 5D Mark IV. This feels more akin to what is kind of standard there. It's still a, relatively light combination, but it just makes it more accommodating hand size if you have larger hands, and you find that the standard grip on the A7R III to be too small. And so I'm actually really liking this. I'm using it all the time because it gives me, as I said, anchor points for other things that I use. And then the fact that it's Arca Swiss has just been huge. And I really feel like the way that it's designed and the solidity of all this, I'm cranking down firmer onto my tripod than I ever have before. I'm really pleased about that. Okay, so let's take a look at the SmallRig now for the A6500. Now, there are a few differences here that are mostly designed around the fact, of course, that you're working with a smaller chassis to begin with. Here at the front, you can see that there is a cutout there to accommodate the lens. Now, I do like the fact that, like the larger one for the A7R series, that it is still Arca Swiss compatible. Now, I mentioned about the actual battery door compartment here. You can see that it's shallower. The one thing that I do find here is that, I mean, at the best of times, it is not easy to get at the card in here. This is a poor ergonomic design here in the A6500, and so getting at the card is not easy. But what happens with the SmallRig on here is I find that the battery door has maybe a little less travel. As a result, that and the additional depth, I find it harder than ever to get at that card. But, you know, and to be fair, a lot of this problem is more Sony's problem than it is SmallRig's problem. Just note that having that, the SmallRig bracket on an A6500 or A6300, it's going to compound an already not great problem. Now, less of a problem in getting at the battery pack and the battery door. That's not such a problem. It's more getting at the card itself. As you can see, you're working with, you know, it's less of a toolless design because you're left working with where you need some kind of slot, be it a screwdriver or a coin to break that free, to tighten or loosen here. Also, you don't have the same kind of flexibility in extending out the L bracket on this side. And so basically you're left with just, you know, the actual Allen keys lugs here to actually loosen it and or to take it off. I find accessing these accessories here, there's enough space in the design that it's no problem. And so it's easy to get at all of these things. And of course they've got a nice slot there to allow you access to working your finger in and out and getting into that accessory door there. And there's no question that I can get a much firmer grip on this A6500 due to having just that little extra bit of space to add my pinky. And I will note that it is it's nicely designed here. The curvature here is nicely designed for a fingertip going to, and so it certainly is an improvement. The L bracket for the A6500 actually comes with this wooden piece on here that is supposed to be kind of a natural grip. Problem is that it looks kind of awkward mounted on there, in my opinion. And then secondly, because of the nature of it, if you're using a lens of any kind of largeness, you know, adding on to that grip, that extra bit, means that you have very little room to put your fingertips in there. That's a problem anyway with a lot of these grips. It's a problem with the larger grip that's on the A7R3 naturally, depending on the lens you have mounted. And so this kind of creates that same kind of problem. So I immediately took that off. Now there are a number of different accessories that you can get, some of which are actually free options, and I'll just detail one of them here. And that is that on the side of, you know, the side of your L bracket, you can very easily add on, say for example, this extra cold shoe. And so what that would allow you to do is to have an additional place to drop an accessory on there, and, you know, may it be a light or a monitor or anything like that. And while I'm not reviewing them here today, obviously if you're into video work, going for the full cage gives you a full top and another side plates for which you could add on any number of other accessories to make video work easier for you. Now I'm going to conclude with what I think may be the best part of all of this, and that is the price. For this L bracket that I've shown you for the A7R Mark III, you know, that's with it having, you know, having the custom engraving with your name, all of that stuff. The price tag comes out to $59 US for it. And when I consider the fact that, you know, Sony sells just a grip extension, literally that's all it does, is it mounts onto the bottom plate there and it adds on about this much extra grip. And for that you pay $129 US at B&H Photo. And so to be able to get all of this extra, you know, functionality, you know, a L bracket here on the side, the base plate that's Arca Swiss, all of those things, to get that for literally less than half the price is pretty crazy good. The one for the A6500 that I showed you comes in at right at around $50 US. And so, you know, I'm struck, considering how expensive photography gear is, I'm struck by how low the price point is. And so if you're looking for, you know, a fairly elegant solution that not only adds on extra grip for your hand, but adds on a lot of additional functionality that I have found just makes using these bodies easier for me, it certainly offers up a great value. So check out SmallRig. I'll throw a link in the description down below so you can go and look at these for yourself. And of course, as always, you can also find information there to follow me on social media, become a patron, or subscribe to my newsletter. And of course, if you haven't already become a subscriber here on YouTube, please do so. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.